the big winner tonight.
He is undefeated in the squared circle.
No one beats us to the punch.
Hey there, Bare-Knuckle News fans. I am backstage with Nate Shook and my co-host, Chris Big Boy Jensen. Nate, a very interesting fight tonight. Let's talk a little bit about some of the more exciting fights.
Yeah, which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with the Hartbeck Rawlings fight.
Yeah, it's a highly anticipated fight. 3 years since Beck's been in there. Fans didn't seem to enjoy it, but it was a really technical fight. Both ladies put it all on the line, and Britain came out on top this time.
Chris, what do you think Beck Rawlings needed to do differently to take the W home?
Well, I personally think that tonight, Britt really proved that her fighter IQ was there, and she's smart. She fought a smart fight. I think Beck probably should have came forward a little more, been a little bit more aggressive, and not waited for Britt as much.
Interesting fight tonight also between Jimmy Rivera and Howard Davis, a controversial call. Let's talk about that, Nate.
Yeah, so first off, Howard has like 10 inches on Jimmy. It was like a huge reach advantage for him. And I believe it was the third round, maybe, where he caught him. So he was throwing the punch as the end of the round came. So since the punch was already in motion, it still counts. So he hit him, he dropped him, and then Jimmy went on to win 3 of the 5 rounds by 2 of the judges. And Howard had the knockdown, so you get a 47-47. And now we have ourselves a majority draw.
Boy, you and I were talking about this earlier, that one of the things that was interesting is the fact that Rivera is so short, and he did stay in the clinch a lot, which I think played a factor in the fight. Do you not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Rivera showed a lot of poise in there with Howard. And coming into this, I knew he would. We've seen Rivera fight some real top guys in other promotions that were similar to Howard's size. And I think Rivera came in, tied him up, stayed inside, and didn't let Howard get his game plan in and keep him at the end of his punches.
He looked very comfortable, though, I have to say, because he has an arsenal of wrestling, and he's got such a legacy. He looked very comfortable in Bareknuckle. Did you expect him to be able to do as well as he did?
Yeah, that's why I put him against top-level fighters, because he has so much experience in UFC. He's fought at the highest levels. He's been a champion in mixed martial arts and other organizations. So at the end of the day, we couldn't bring him in here and have him fight someone who's like 2-0 in MMA. He had to fight a top-level guy. He fought Howard, and he showed how well he is able to adapt to different combat sports by going to a draw.
The main card, so interesting. Alvin thought he won. Luis did win. Give us your thoughts on that, sir.
It's tough because as we sit there in the crowd, you hear Palomino's fans just going crazy, and you have to wonder, does that impact people? Because every time he lands a clean punch, the crowd's just going nuts. There's mixed emotions online right now. If you go on and you look at social media, some people are saying Luis dominated, some people are saying Alvin dominated. I mean, we could sit here and say, let's run it back. But at this time, Palomino is up 2-0. It doesn't make sense to run it back. I mean, the team, we're going to get together, sit down, talk to that boss and say, hey, is this something we want to do again, or do we move on with both divisions?
Boy, what are your thoughts on that fight? Who do you think won it?
Watching that fight, it was a lot of factors played into my mind. One, Palomino's coming up a weight class. He's basically fighting at his walk-around weight, so I knew that he had a great camp. He was able to be healthy in that camp, and I knew he was going to come with a lot of power. However, Alvin really did come forward. The amount of strikes thrown were very equal, but again, we have a talented Florida Boxing Commission here with well-certified judges, and that's their job to make the decision, and when they make that decision, that's the way it goes.
Can't argue with that.
Any other highlights you want to talk about tonight? Because we had so many great fights tonight. I can't choose. I got to let you choose, Nick.
I mean, the first 2 fights that night, they start off the card phenomenal. I have to say, we talked about this before, bottom to top, our fighters are growing so fast in this new sport that they're adapting, and now you're seeing there's different levels in Bare-Knuckle now. So hats off to those guys. Kerry, he came in, I believe he was an underdog, and he beat Tyler, who a lot of people considered, top 5 for 125 pounds. So Kerry's a bright future in the sport if he wants to continue, and I hope he does come back. So I was really happy with the card. Wassie's fight, I mean, when him and Townsell, he drops Townsell, twice in the first 3 rounds, and then Townsell just keeps coming back, and then drops him once, and that was all, that he needed. So it was a great card. I loved it. I'm glad to be a part of this organization. glad you guys are out here covering
Yeah,
this stuff.
thank you.
So.
Speaking of talent, you know, you're on your 5th year. It doesn't seem like he's on his 5th year, but he's on his 5th year. How has the level of talent improved since BKFC won?
People are now, back then, it was MMA fighters, it was boxers. They were coming on over and they were trying to figure out this new sport. Now people are training bare-knuckle. You have the Reggie Barnetts, Beck. You have these people who took the sport and made it their own. So now we're getting a level of these fighters, and Brito, he's talking about people come down there to train with him. So now people are training bare-knuckle. So now you're seeing this evolution, and the ones that are training bare-knuckle seem to me that they're going much higher and much quicker than the ones that are just doing MMA and coming on over and trying to fight bare-knuckle.
Boy, you're a fighter. You spent a lot of time in different disciplines. How difficult is it to make the transition from MMA into just bare-knuckle?
Well, honestly, when you're making the transition from MMA to bare-knuckle, it's kind of more fun to me. In bare-knuckle, in MMA, I had to work my butt off. I had to train in multiple disciplines: wrestling, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing. It was a 5-day a week, 2-3 times a day. So it was so much just excruciating training that when I finally got the opportunity to go bare-knuckle, especially at 40 years old, it was a relief, and I was able to focus on the things to make me a smarter fighter, not a harder fighter to end my career. So actually, the transition from MMA to bare-knuckle is not as bad as you think.
Now, we got to talk about some of the upcoming cards. We've got one in Tampa, a big fight in London. Go ahead, Nate, take it away.
Tampa, this was a card that it just came together. We start making phone calls about 7 weeks out from the event. And because I have so many fighters, like I tell people all the time, I have 60, 80 people every single day messaging me. It's probably up in 100, 120 an hour a day.
I've been one of those guys before.
So putting a card together wasn't hard. And it's to the point now where if I offer someone a fight and they say I'll get back to you, or they try to counter with someone wants to step in and filling it because so many people want to fight for us. And that's one thing I'll say about Francesco. He hasn't turned out a fight.
Yeah.
Every single person, I call him up and be like, hey, Francesco, I got this guy. He's like, I'll take it. I got this guy, I'll take it. You have some of these fighters, they don't care who they're fighting. And you have other ones that, and I'm not going to call anyone out by name here, but sometimes we have fighters that I'll offer a fight to them and their manager, and then I'll see them 2 or 3 days later saying, I haven't had a fight, blah, blah. It's like, I just offered you a fight. Yeah. And you chose, or your management chose not to take it. That's not my fault. Yeah. And other fighters are hungry, and they want to step on up, and they want to fill that hole. And that's what we had for the Tampa card. Every phone call I was making, people were saying yes, yes, yes. And it was the fastest I had contracts signed and returned. So within, I think, 2 days, I had 11 bouts matched. The next day, I had all the contracts back and signed. One fighter pulled out. Unfortunately, after he said yes, some stuff came up, but I replaced him in 3 hours. So it's going to be a great card. I'm not sure how many fights on that card were released yet because I'm working 5 cards right now. But everyone knows the main event. Jared Grant, Reggie Barnett. It's going to be a barn burner there. We
have to talk about the heavyweight signings because you've got so many big, large fighters coming in. They're larger, but they're larger than you, big boy.
Yeah, way bigger.
So, you've got Rothwell, you've got Hardy. What are the plans for those 2 fighters?
So, I've been a fan of Ben's for a while. I never saw him in person, and I saw him today for the first time. I stood next to the guy, and he's a monster. And you don't realize how big a size 16 is, or how big someone, a human's hand could get. And I'm excited to see what he can do in there. Even at 40 years old, the guy has a lot of power, and he's in phenomenal shape, and I'm sure he hits hard. So everyone on the line is asking for him versus Bobo. We'll see what happens. Bobo's asked for it. I've seen comments online. So we'll go back. Monday we'll debrief from this weekend. Tuesday we'll sit down, and hopefully Wednesday or Thursday we have some news. But to me, that's a fight I'd like to watch as a fan. Mm-hmm. Bobo's one of those guys who he doesn't say no to fights. He wants to fight the best. He wants to go out there and challenge himself. And Ben's fought at the top for a long time, and again, he's one of those guys I can't put in there with a 22, 23-year-old with a couple fights. He has to fight someone with experience, and I honestly don't see him saying no to whoever we put in front of him.
We have to talk about the London card because we've got two great fighters coming up, and you're at the Wembley. I mean, this is like an amazing event from Cheyenne, Wyoming, to the Wembley Arena. Nate, congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, Dave has this vision, and we all get on the train and we go. And going to Wembley is something he wanted to do, and it was supposed to be July, and then we had some stuff in the works. We got MVP. We pushed it back to August 20th. He's fighting Mike Perry. It's a fight, like he said today, it's a fight that fans didn't know they wanted because you have two high-level guys that fought in two high-level MMA organizations who no one ever probably saw fighting, and now they're fighting each other in Bare-Knuckle. It's going to be a great card. I think 2 of the other fights are already announced, but right now we have 14 fights on the card, a ton of talent, guys with 6, 7, 8 bare-knuckle fights. I don't know if they're truly bare-knuckle because some of the stuff they had their hands wrapped, so I don't know which ones had a bunch of bare-knuckle fights, but have a ton of experience over there. And we're taking some Americans on over to test their skills against some of the British, so I'm excited.
Nate Shook, always a pleasure and an honor. Before we go tonight, sir, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Keep watching for the tryouts. We just had them in Mexico. We're going to be having the next ones hopefully either in Virginia or Colorado. We will be going to Colorado here in the next couple months, so that's big for us. So possibly doing a tryout down there to find some more local talent for the undercard. But again, Dave's going to announce a huge signing hopefully this week. I had a big part in it, so I'm really excited about this one. I'm a huge fan of this person, and hopefully they might be fighting on that Colorado card if we can make it happen.
Can you tell us if it's male or female?
No.
Come on, Nate.
Only because
All
there's
right.
so many superstars out there right now that we're speaking with that want to come on over to Bare-Knuckle, that knowing me, I'll say something stupid. People will run online with it, and they'll figure it out before it gets announced.
All right, as we always do, we have to say goodbye. For Bare-Knuckle News, I'm Susan Singari. This is
Nate Shook.
And I'm Big Boy.
And no one beats us to the punch.